Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, a pundit panel on the construction business and related matters with former State Senator Patricia Farley, former State Senator Warren Hardy, and Amanda Moss. It's all coming up next on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Safety. We all think about it. You think about it when he buckles in, when you check your mirrors and put away your phone. RTC thinks about safety too. In fact, we create it. Center turn lanes mean fewer blind spots. Bike lanes keep cyclists and you safe. Roundabouts reduce injury collisions, and all these crosswalks are designed to keep families like yours safe. Safety is your priority, and it's ours too. Every day, in everything we do.
Retail's impact on Nevada's economy? Enormous. 8,600 businesses, large and small, employing 145,000 workers. And last fiscal year, retail paid tax on nearly $60 billion in sales. We're the Retail Association of Nevada. We support retail, we help it grow, and we mean business.
RANNV.org.
Pro Group Management is the place where companies can find workers' comp solutions that are designed to meet their specific business requirements. As regulations evolve, Pro Group takes a proactive approach to clear the path to make sure your business stays ahead of the curve. Knowing your workers' comp program is optimized, you can focus on other important matters related to your growing business. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Safety is the #1 priority for the trucking industry. Over $7 billion a year is spent on technology like this electronic eye that will apply the brakes automatically. But the most important factor for safety is the truck driver. These hardworking men and women who safely move over 70% of our nation's freight and 94% of Nevada's. We thank you because trucks move America forward.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, coming to you from the Ahern Hotel in Las Vegas. We have a great pundit panel today talking about the construction business. Former State Senator Patty Farley is here. Former State Senator Warren Hardy is here. And she's not a former state senator, but a friend of the program. Amanda Moss is Senior Director of Government Affairs for the Southern Nevada Home Builders Association. So we're in this crazy time, not just in Nevada, in Utah, and across the country, of where construction is going through the roof, but the cost of materials and everything else is either in short supply or the cost is just going up.
It's been crazy. So between our general contracting company and our specialty subcontracting company, it's hard to source the materials, and then you got to source it and get it bought super quick before the prices skyrocket again. And so it's been a challenge. And then on top of that, you've got to relay those costs back to the customer. And so we're starting to see a slowdown where people are saying it's just too expensive. We'll wait till things slow down or costs come back into a normal range. So it's been hit or miss, and I think it's probably going to slow down a little bit.
Hit or miss, but at the same time, we still have these needs. I mean, in Northern Nevada alone, 50,000 new homes needed over the next 10 years. That's 5,000 a year. We're not getting even close to that. The costs are already through the roof because anything that's available is getting bought up $65,000 plus above the asking price.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my sense is that's going to start to stabilize here. I think just listening to this, watching the stock market, some of the inflationary concerns are starting to subside a little bit. So I think the material is going to start taking care of itself over the next few months, and as supply catches up with demand. In Southern Nevada, we've got a much bigger problem. The commodity that we lack is land. And so that's not just residential construction, that's construction. I mean, basically we have Apex in Southern Nevada, and it doesn't have water or sewer to it yet. That's really the only thing we have to shop. So, you know, it's not a existential problem because we just go to the federal government and get another Lands Act. But currently, that's a huge problem we have here that you don't have as much in northern Nevada. And then the labor shortage as well is probably more problematic than the material shortage at this point.
Mayor John Lee was on the program, and he was talking about the fact that there are several smaller business parks that are opening in North Las Vegas adjacent to Apex. Is that going to make any difference?
Yeah, North Las Vegas is probably the one place that does have, as John likes to say, real estate. But still, a lot of that it doesn't have the infrastructure run to it yet. But really, that's the only place that has significant amounts of land that we can market on the commercial side. There are infill projects pretty much everywhere they can put a housing development or a house. They're putting it right now. But the longer term problem for us in Southern Nevada, at least, is the availability of land.
Tick Segerbloom keeps saying that he doesn't want to see the expansion of growth. He's more thinking along the lines of what Dina Titus was talking about 15, 20 years ago about a ring around the valley. But the reality is the Southern Nevada Water Authority is expanding water out to Apex and out towards Ivanpah. So I don't see how you constrain it.
Yeah, so I mean, I think I agree with definitely both of their comments in terms of some of the challenges that we've seen. The hard part is the supply and demand factor, right? And water is a very important issue. Sustainability and environment is a very important issue. I know the Senator Cortez Masto's land bill will be heard on Monday in the subcommittee on public lands. And the important piece that I think a lot of folks don't realize is where the funding for those critical conservation programs come from, and that is through developer impact fees and through the SNPLMA process. So since the implementation of SNPLMA, over $4 billion.
Let's explain for those that don't get the acronym, the
Yes.
Southern Nevada Lands
Yes,
Act.
the Southern Nevada Public Lands Management Act. So that is something that was put in place a couple decades ago, and since its inception in the last large comprehensive federal lands bill, there have been over $4 billion in infrastructure project funded entirely through those developer fees. And both commercial and residential development, any new parcel that gets sold through the BLM, the Bureau of Land Management process, those fees go to fund the critical SNWA infrastructure, schools, parks, fire stations, police, and without the continuation of that land, those funds just cease, and all of those projects that we need to make sure that our valley has sustainable water, to make sure that we're trying to meet the state's climate goals, all of that would not be possible.
And also, just to throw in addition to that, it's also provided significant money to help with Lake Tahoe.
That's very true, yes.
So, I mean,
Keeping Lake
that's been a
Tahoe
huge
blue.
difference. I had Marilyn Kirkpatrick on the show. We taped a lot of shows here in Las Vegas over the last few days. And I was asking Marilyn Kirkpatrick if her 10-year timeline that she had talked about on the show 2 years ago for Ivanpah, the airport out at Ivanpah, was still on track. I know that Southern Nevada Water Authority is pushing the water out there. And she says yes, that I guess now will be within 8 years. That will be huge development, will it not?
I think that would be a great development out that direction. I think the big variable for me is watching what they're going to do with the water. I've heard, obviously, they're going to pull back municipally on the grass and some of these other things.
Non-functional turf.
Yeah, non-functional turf. But I think any hype we can get a development like that, the supporting businesses will be excellent for that area.
Warren, what kind of population base do you think that's going to add to the valley? Because I mean, we've known over the years that there's going to be another 1 million people living in the Las Vegas Valley over time. Is Ivanpah going to be responsible for a big chunk of that?
Well, I think a lot of the outlying areas, because first of all, there is some availability of land outside of the valley, Mesquite, Moapa Valley, Pahrump, Ivanpah, out towards that direction. So I do think we'll see significant growth. I think Coyote Springs was probably a little bit ahead of its time, because that's the kind of development I think we're going to start to see.
Well, and the legal battles are not over with that yet, but I mean, at this point, the state has said, no water for you.
Yeah, well, water's more of a political problem than anything else in Southern Nevada. That can be solved politically, but you have to have willing partners. And as long as California is sort of the last on the water, spigot, they're not anxious to make any changes. But water's always a concern, obviously, especially in a drought like we're going through right now. It's pretty significant.
And Sam, if I could jump into something that, on the home building side, my members have done since 2002 is we have not installed turf at all in new development. We worked with Assemblyman Watts last session in the 19 session related to water and water sense and EPA fixtures to ensure that not only is the infrastructure the most water efficient possible, but then we also have return flow credits. And we are a national model to conserve water and to try to make sure that we are growing smart, growing responsibly. And I think that, the one part that is maybe sometimes missing is, what we have already done and what we've already been able to accomplish. Of course, there's more work to do, of course.
Right, and I mean, people from Israel come to Nevada to look at what we've done as far as water issues are concerned. Patty, you also operate in southern Utah, and Tick Segerbloom was on the program talking about the water usage in Utah and the fact that they don't do any of the things that we do as far as conservation.
Yeah, there's not a lot. And it's interesting because I own a home in an area that's affected by the drought, and it's actually on fire now, and they're getting control of it. But you can see the issues with water. And then what's interesting is you can see the issues with Southern Nevada's growth, explosion, and how they need to manage that better. They probably need to come down for a trip and look and see what Las Vegas has done, and so that's kind of a concern too. Is there's a lot of forest area, there's a lot of open lands there that they need to get those issues under control because the growth it's happening.
I think Nevada has a very unique model because of the return flow credits that Amanda just mentioned. That creates a whole different dynamic in water management. And really, our SNWA and the leadership over there, from Pat Mulray now to John Ensminger, have done a remarkable job in conservation by focusing on what we call consumptive use. Low flow water, shower heads are fine, but they don't really have much impact because we collect that water and we get return flow credit for it. It's the turf, it's the outdoor usage, it's the golf course. And we've done such a great job, or I shouldn't say we, our water leadership in Southern Nevada has done such a great job of zeroing in on the consumptive use portion of it that has a real impact. So a little bit different in Southern Utah. As far as I know, they don't really take advantage of those return flow credits because just one little corner has water out of the Colorado River. But I think the consumptive use issue is a model that should be looked at on the rest of the Colorado River for sure.
One of the things, and it's a little sidebar to our discussion here, but reading in the Los Angeles Times that Pat Mulroy was up for the top job at the Metropolitan Water District was kind of mind-blowing. You would think that after running the Southern Nevada Water Authority, that would be a high point in a career, but she came in second on that, but that race is still not over. She may end up still running it.
And I think that is, to Warren's point, a testament to everything. I mean, we could talk about water this entire program and still not, breach the surface, pun intended. But, you also look at old infrastructure and aging areas. A lot of times when we talk about development, folks bring up, well, just grow in, just grow up. And the challenge is, costs. Costs are incredibly difficult to manage, but also old infrastructure. They're leaky pipes, they're rusted pipes, they're small pipes. So the SNWA has also done a tremendous job in making sure that they understand exactly what assets they have, making sure that as areas are eroding, that they beef up that infrastructure in that area, built-in redundancy in their program, into their pipes and all of those things, and that's incredibly important.
Water reclamation deserves a lot of credit too.
Yes.
Tom Morgan and his team.
And so we're staring down the barrel of a huge infrastructure bill that one way or the other is going to come out of the president and the Congress. And so, what is your idea of what we need in terms of infrastructure? The discussion so far in the program has been it should be one-shot deals, not ongoing projects. But what would make sense to you?
Oh, that's a good question, and it is particularly because I think there's so much different need in different areas, obviously. But for me, I would like to see more one-shot and then let another set of legislators or the state kind of look and see what needs to go. Because sometimes you see these projects and they're 10, 20 years and they way over budget and it never really achieved what it was supposed to anyway. So I think as I read through that infrastructure plan, some of those are more, in my opinion, than one-shot type of deals.
And in my opinion, we should take a complete new look in light of this federal money. We should take a complete fresh look at the transportation. We just approved, the RTC just approved bus rapid transport on Maryland Parkway sort of as the center. I think we need to switch back to light rail and the economic development that comes with that. I think it would be a generational mistake for us to do bus rapid transit instead of either light rail or, you know, this underground boring thing is something that's getting a lot of traction as well.
Do you like that?
I do, and I think it's you know, Steve Hill's done an amazing job and had a great vision for that. I think all of us were kind of skeptical looking at it, and now they're running cars. So the newer technology, but the only thing I can say is the thing we shouldn't do is bus rapid transit. We shouldn't do a fancier, prettier bus. We need to do something different that's actually going to drive economic development.
So the director of NDOT was on the program a couple of weeks ago, and as much as I would push her in, what are your ideas for infrastructure going forward, looking out the next 20, 30 years, the majority of what she talked about was riding the bus and riding your bicycle. It didn't seem to me to be the forward thinking that we need.
Well, NDOT did just go out with a request for a working group to try to kind of identify some of those needs. There's a tribal seat, there's a clean energy seat, there's local government seats, there's industry seats, to try to figure that out, right? Because there's no magic bullet, and there are a lot of representatives that should be a part of that long-term sustainability kind of conversation. So I think that that's going to be something that a lot of folks are looking at, what that group comes up with in light of some of the bills that just recently passed this legislative session. Because, you know, what Nevada is great about is making sure that we do the studies and collect the right data and look at what's going on at a national level and try to replicate or do it better, because, you know, we're Nevada. So.
Yes, we are. And, you know, airports and RTCs tend to be the people that look 30 years out into the future, and state demographers. And so it was a little surprising to me that the NDOT leader was thinking, you know, and I understand, you know, that RTCs would love to see people on buses and riding bikes, but I think the practicality of that is fairly slim beyond what we're currently utilizing.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that, though, is some forced decisions from the Trump administration, who wasn't really, didn't like light rail, did not want to encourage light rail. And so they created some funding difficulties and challenges that sort of caused those professionals to focus on those areas. And we need to break free of that now. We need to look beyond that.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back with this terrific panel after this timeout.
Enjoy exceptional value and a comfortable atmosphere at the all-new Nevada Steak at Tamarack Casino. Great food, fine wines, and delectable desserts.
Ooh, your good times at Tamarack.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
Serving Our Kids Foundation's mission is to serve homeless, at-risk, and food insecure children in grades K through 8 throughout Southern Nevada. During the pandemic, Serving Our Kids has seen a 42% increase in the number of children served, providing more than 4,500 meals to kids in over 100 schools weekly. Serving Our Kids is powered by community support and volunteers. To learn how you can help, visit servingourkids.org.
Southwest Specialties has been making the homes and businesses of Nevada beautiful for more than 20 years. Their experienced designers and craftsmen create the walkways, backyards, water features, and a variety of outdoor cooking areas that add curb appeal and value to your investment. Call today or visit them at their website and see how they can make your outdoor spaces special. Southwest Specialties, creative, distinctive, beautiful.
Enjoy exceptional value and a comfortable atmosphere at the all-new Nevada Steak at Tamarack Casino. Great food, fine wines, and delectable desserts.
Ooh, your good times at Tamarack.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we have a great pundit panel talking about construction issues and related issues. We've got Patty Farley here, Warren Hardy, and Amanda Moss. Patty, the natural gas part of the legislature, where they were attempting to get rid of natural gas very quickly, that seems to have gotten fought back on. Did that make any sense to you?
No, and particularly with all the stuff that was going on right now with our economy and our world, I thought that was probably not the fight to pick at this point. I honestly think that there's ideas out there that sound really good to replace it, but we really don't know how it's going to impact us, not our living and our economy. And that always concerns me when there's not enough information, but it just sounds like a good idea when we roll with it. So I was glad to see that get pushed back and have an opportunity maybe for some more development and some thought around it.
Talked to Senator Reid a couple of days ago. He says all fossil fuels are bad, they should be gone.
Well, so full disclosure, I represent the Natural Resource Defense Council, who was part of that proposal. And the proposal did not scale back gas, did not propose to eliminate gas by 2023, as the proponents effectively used in their campaign to defeat it. It was simply a planning bill in the spirit of what Governor Sisolak has asked everybody to do in terms of developing a plan. So there were provisions in that bill initially that allowed them to grab onto that narrative, which was unfortunate. But it's time to start planning and study. And I think my client wants a very reasonable approach to what we do next. And there were two competing pieces of legislation. One was the one that so-called outlawed gas, which it did not. It called for a study to start looking at what the future is going to look like. Then Southwest Gas had a separate bill that allowed them to replace infrastructure, or basically forced the PUC to allow them to replace infrastructure at any pace they wanted. Both of those were a mistake. I think we're going to have to get back to a planning bill. We're going to be 2 years behind now, but we need to get back to a place where, working in conjunction with Southwest Gas, we come up with a plan for what happens next, because the consumers will be the ones that are at disadvantages as the marketplace moves away from gas the way it moved away from energy, electricity, to solar, from solar generation. The consumers are going to be the one left holding the bag if we don't plan efficiently. So I thought it was unfortunate that bill had so much false narrative around it. Because that's where we really need to be. And 2 years from now, we're going to be 2 years later.
We'll have the home builders version of this when we come back.
7 at 7 is available anytime, anywhere.
I'm Riley Smith with your Vegas Golden Knights. Watch 7 minutes of nonstop news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Streaming on LVRJ.com and YouTube. Powered by the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you. But we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
The Do It Right guys at Nevada Heating have one mission. Your air conditioner breaks down today. We fix it today. Why sweat for days while your air is down, when Nevada Heating can get the job done today, and you can get cool again? For nearly 50 years, locally owned Nevada Heating has been getting the job done right. Call today at 323-5585 or see us online at nevadaheating.com.
Each day, the Children's Advocacy Alliance partners with leaders, legislators, and families across Nevada to improve children's health, education, economic well-being, and safety. We recognize Nevada will be no better than the state of its children. Be a part of this change. Be a supporter of the Children's Advocacy Alliance. For more information, go to caanv.org.
7 at 7 is available anytime, anywhere.
I'm Riley Smith with your Vegas Golden Knights. Watch 7 minutes of nonstop news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Streaming on LVRJ.com and Twitter. Powered by the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, want to give Amanda a chance to respond from the home builder's perspective on this natural gas issue.
Thanks, Sam. I appreciate that. So as one of the opponents of AB 380, we were in a coalition of over 30 groups that represented, AARP, the Chambers of Commerce, and on the home building perspective, Warren made a great point about who's going to be holding the bag, and unfortunately, the way we read the bill and, unintended consequences, devil in the details, we think that would increase cost to consumers. Gas is the most efficient use, and making sure that gas has Southwest Gas itself has the ability, and the state has the ability to study alternatives and to make sure that we also focus on the less expensive items that were outlined in the state climate strategy. There are energy audits. There are a number of things that we can do. Hydrogen study. I know Senator Spearman's bill moved through the process. Those conversations are important, and from our perspective, the reason why we oppose that bill is because those conversations were not allowed to be had, unfortunately, in the short time frame that we had.
Yeah, and it was kind of bizarre, to say the least, that the head of NV Energy and the head of Southwest Gas each got 2 minutes to be able to speak on the bills.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we have to leave it. You're a terrific group. I'm going to bring you back again in the future for more conversations. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back. Brian Culpa Photography was born in the rolling hills of Massachusetts, and now he can help you experience the stunning beauty of Nevada in a whole new way through the power of flight. Flying has always been a passion for Brian, and at Brian Culpa Photography, he can make your imagination soar. Brian has the creative mind and tools to tell your unique story. Experience the bird's eye view at brianculpaphotography.com.
Hi, my name's Marilyn Miner, and I'm sure you'd agree that Nevada's a very special place to live. I was born here, and my husband and I have raised our family here. I feel it's a privilege to live and work in the Truckee Meadows. I especially enjoy helping my clients reach their real estate goals. Sometimes the smallest details provide the greatest satisfaction. I'd be complimented to talk to you about your next move.
Call Marilyn Miner at Dixon Realty, 742-1280, or log on to marilynminer.com.
Safety. We all think about it. You think about it when he buckles in, when you check your mirrors and put away your phone. RTC thinks about safety too. In fact, we create it. Center turn lanes mean fewer blind spots. Bike lanes keep cyclists and you safe. Roundabouts reduce injury collisions, and all these crosswalks are designed to keep families like yours safe. Safety is your priority, and it's ours too. Every day, in everything we do.
Pro Group Management specializes in providing industries with the necessary components to satisfy and exceed workers' comp requirements. Every business has unique needs and specific regulations. Pro Group Management stays ahead of the curve, providing up-to-date services to keep your industry in top form. Discover how we simplify your tasks, improve efficiency, and reduce expense to keep you moving in a positive direction. Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Watch Nevada Newsmakers on YouTube. We'll see you on the next broadcast.